Hi, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm going to be sharing an emboss resist technique that I like doing with my set Make a Statement that goes with the Stately Flowers series from Gina K Designs. This is a set that I designed with lots of sentiments that are going to work on their own or with any of the state names in the Stately Flowers series. It also has a map of the United States, plus a couple butterflies and other little accents. And this butterfly is my #1 butterfly, in my opinion, in my entire collection. And I like using this butterfly to create a faux lace look on my cards. This is the card we're going to be creating today. Just a few supplies that you need for this. Just one color cardstock, which is the Gina K Pure Luxury White. I'm using 3 stamp pads for this today. You're going to need an embossing ink. I use Versamark. Going to be using the Gina K Cherry Red to sponge over that. And finally, the Gina K Black Onyx to stamp the sentiment and the butterfly. And the sentiment that I'm using today is from the Stately Flowers 8 set, which is my newest one. Also, we're going to use a sponge dauber for sponging on the ink. Going to use a red Copic marker. This is the R17 for coloring in that butterfly. Sakura glitter pen just to add some sparkle. I have some pearls to embellish it. Had some scissors to cut it out. And then finally you'll need to use some kind of 3-dimensional glue dot or a pop dot for popping up that embellishment. You'll also need some clear embossing powder and a heat tool. To begin, I have a mat here. This is 4 by 5 1/4 inch. Start off with a clean stamp. This is the butterfly, so this is deeply etched rubber. You're going to ink it up with the Versamark, and I always like to stamp with my mat being horizontal, even if it's going to be a vertical design. So just tap that 2 or 3 times, and we're going to find the middle of the panel and then press. And anytime that you're going to create a border with your stamps, you want to start in the middle and work your way out, and that way you won't have a quarter of the image on one side and almost the entire image on the other side. And even though this is not a clear stamp, it's very easy to get these lined up, and if they're not touching exactly, that's okay. But when I came up with this technique, I just noticed how the position of these wings and the design in the wings looks so much like a scallop, like some really fine lace. So I just love this look. So then you're going to repeat on the other side. Okay, so you can kind of see that on there. Close up my pad. Move this out of the way for a second. All right, so I'm going to pour on the embossing powder. I'm just going to let that fall down there. Just press away any stray flecks that you get. I meant to go over this with a little cornstarch sock just to get the static off, but a lot of times I forget, and it's fine. You just pick off any extra specks that you have, or it can add to your design. If you get a few, just creates that shabby chic look. And then I'm going to pour the excess powder back into the jar and put that aside. All right, so now we're going to emboss this. So I have my heat tool. You want to keep the heat tool moving as you go. And you're just going to start to see that powder melt and become just clear and smooth and shiny. Now we're going to take the cherry red ink and our dauber, just rub it around, and we're just going to go right over those butterflies. Just love this color. Such a pretty deep red. Because this is such a dark color, the butterflies aren't going to appear quite as bright white, but you can go back over it with a tissue to rub some of that ink off. But I think the pink is really pretty. I meant to put this card up before Valentine's Day, but truly I could do a red, white, and black card any time of the year. It's just one of my favorite color combinations. So elegant. And I'm concentrating the ink out on the sides. I want it darker on the edges. And then you can go back if you have certain areas that are darker than the others. Okay? All right, now we're going to take the greeting from the love chapter, which is in Stately Flowers 8, and ink it up in the black onyx. And we're going to put that right in between those butterflies. Okay? Close that up. So here's the butterfly that I stamped in white on the black cardstock just to save time. I already cut it out. And I'm just going to go in and accent just a few areas. So instead of coloring it with a lot of the shading and blending with the Copics, I'm going to leave some areas white intentionally so that it looks a little bit more like stained glass. Okay, and make it maybe a little bit darker just right in the middle. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of the glitter pen, just tracing over some of those veins. Okay, and then I'm going to bend this and then curve the wings back and put it on this blue dot. And then just add that right below the greeting. And then you would just put that right onto the center of your folded white card base. And there's your completed card. So very quick, very simple. And then I also stamped the orange blossom in red from Stately Flowers 8 to the inside to accent it. And it would be really pretty to do that on the envelope as well. I hope you enjoyed this embossing technique. I hope it makes you see this butterfly in a whole new way. The Make It a Statement stamp set, I think, is just a must-have if you have any of the Stately Flowers sets. Makes it really versatile, adds a lot of options for sentiments. Thanks for watching.